my goodness, what a play!
Fumble the ball, and Denver has recovered. Oh, my!
Dempsey kicks, it's on the way! It is! Good! It's good!
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions!
Oh, he caught it! Oh! Unbelievable!
What is up, everybody? Episode 4. Welcome. It's week of football. We're about to get started. How's it going, Phil?
It's going all right. We really need a video with.
I know. I need to cut that together. It's always been part of the plan, but I really want to do something pretty sassy and fancy. So once we get a chance, I'm going to make that a proper video intro.
My morning's going pretty well. I'm celebrating my championship, and it's so heavy. I don't know if I can lift this thing.
If there's anything to create encouragement for the rest of you guys to step it up, because I'm officially out from FOMFA. It's that right there. that big motherfucker behind Phil, and that ring, that obnoxious championship ring.
Oh, no one gets the ring. The ring stays with me. The trophy goes to them. But I probably won't wear it as much if I'm not the defending champion, as that looks a little tacky. This, however, doesn't look tacky at all.
There we go. Chris Perkins is in. Very nice. I still don't get this gaming slang.
Whatever.
David seems to get it. Other people in the league seems to get it. All right, so we are barreling towards. I guess we got a time limit on today's because we want to be done and let everybody have get into week 1 action. Week 1's already started, but the real week 1 action.
Also, you may be on your own for about 10 minutes while my groceries get delivered, because originally this was supposed to be yesterday, so that's just happening now.
Yeah, that's fine. I can handle it.
It's going to be people's favorite part of the podcast.
We've got had a pretty interesting week. I mean, last week, before we went on the last episode, before we went to BC, that's right. I completely agree. Before we went to BC, it was like, we were everyone was settling in on their teams. Their teams were basically set. Maybe a little fine tuning going on. But a gentleman by the name of Jason Moore decided it's time to come for the jugular of the commissioner. And one little bananas. I was involved in that, and a lot of other people were involved. And suddenly it was a free-for-all, just frantic madness. And this is FOMFA, by the way, for people who are in FOMFA. The league looks very different today as it did the last time we podcasted. Overall, I decided to go into rebuild. Chris Perkins also decided to go into rebuild. If he had decided first, then maybe I wouldn't have wanted to rebuild. Like if he had started selling off assets, I'm like, sweet, I just get to walk into the playoffs, basically.
Yeah, that was a surprising one, because Chris was basically like almost guaranteed a playoff spot, and then he sold his team. Unfortunately, no. Ontario makes it a little more challenging, but he sold his team for like nothing. Like this trade was. We'll get to these trades, but I mean, Jason made out like a bandit.
Yeah, and Jason got his team a lot stronger. Projections-wise, you guys are fairly neck and neck now, and we're heading into the season with a Week 1 showdown. I didn't even realize the Week 1 showdown was Cloud to Ground versus the Toronto Sixes.
So I don't know when I play them again. If it's Week 13, that would be interesting. I should probably actually check that out. But,
that'd be fun. Let me take a look. I got it open here. What does the schedule look like? Because this definitely gotten very exciting. So Week 13. No, you played Death Valley Week 13.
Oh, that's convenient.
You play Cloud to Ground Week 11 by the looks of it. Yeah, so Week 11 will be your second time playing Cloud to Ground. That way, which makes sense. I think it goes in the same order. Like you start Cloud to Ground, then I guess
it doesn't always. I make this schedule manually. Like sometimes I'll just. In the past, I would try to set it up so that the most important game for the division was in the last week. just to make it more interesting and more drama and stuff. And this year I just got lazy and was trying to do it quickly. And
but even if you did, when you made the schedule, you versus Cloud to Ground was not the most important game in the division at the time.
Yes, it always. Well, maybe Luis was at that point, I guess. But like Jason's team was always supposed to be decent at worst.
Well, he was trying to make his decent team worse. That seemed to be the approach to start, where he wanted to like cut down the competitiveness so he could continue his planned rebuild. But he's all in now. Chips are in the center, and he's coming after you. What are your thoughts on that overall before we get on to the trade?
I'm conflicted. On one hand, I'm happy from a standpoint of I want to have some sort of competition. It's really not fun just like the regular season not mattering. Like I'm just setting lineups just for the sake of like winning like team of the week. But it doesn't matter. There's nothing on the line. Every other season I've had to worry about Luis or something. There's been something that like really gets me focused on the year, gets me to care. So from that perspective, I'm glad. From another perspective, though,
of keeping that trophy behind you,
it's not just keeping the trophy. Like it'd be one thing if Jason was competitive, but he's not just competitive. His team is really fucking good. Like there's a chance that both of us challenge the record for most points in a season, and we're in the same division. Like it's going to be it's messed up that one of us has to get the wild card, if that. Because I mean, because Ryan and David are still trying. Ryan, David, Khalil, 3 of those teams get into the playoffs. Well, some team on your side gets in, despite like
might even be me.
Like,
I don't think it'll be me at this point. But if I hadn't traded my receivers, I'd like even with Wayne Gallman and Frank Gore, I felt like I had a shot. That's how bad the conference on my side got after Chris decided to call it, because I had pretty strong receivers. But I wasn't. There's no point for me to get into the playoffs for that reason. I'll just get bounced in the first round immediately. So yeah, very big imbalance now, conference-wise. It's very much what the NBA has been for years, where one conference was dominant and the other one wasn't.
I think one is anticipated to score about 10% more points than the other, which doesn't sound like a lot, but is actually insane. Normally, it's somewhere around like 1% difference between them or something.
Yeah, for sure. So it's going to be definitely an interesting run this year in FOMFA. All of a sudden, like where the directionality really changed within the last week. So on that note, should we get into the trades? There's quite a few of them.
Yeah, there's
they all they lead towards the same. So there's some basic themes that I was seeing. One side of it was Ryan, who's been doing this pretty much the entire offseason, has been tooling to try and make sure that his team beats David's and takes a run at Khalil's. So he's been kind of pretty consistent on that. Cloud to Ground, somewhat out of nowhere. Maybe he's been having these conversations for a while, but I first started getting wind of it when I decided that my rebuild had started. And maybe that's part of what spurred it. Started going to compete, and then everyone else reacting to that on that side, and a little bit on the on my conference's side as well. Once it was fairly clear that the wild card is like wide open, and then a couple of the teams on my side started to do some things. So the first big one, unless you disagree, I think the first big one was Lucas Shies giving up Juju Smith-Schuster and Darius Leonard and a 2021 4th-round pick, which was Cloud to Grounds, to Ryan's team, 100% Cotton, who gave up Alvin Kamara and Randall Cobb.
Yeah, I mean, this one I thought was a pretty even trade overall. If anything, like I feel the Kamara side is a little better from sort of an objective standpoint, if I'm trying not to put my own personal bias into it. But that said, I mean, I like the potential Ryan's getting here, and there's a whole issue of running backs just being, you never know what's going to happen with them. And
also very hard to get in this format. Like if you want a starting level, high-end running back, it's not easy to get them.
For sure. And Juju is, he's basically as much of a wild card as the running backs are at the moment, which is a bit of a downside. But I think the key get here even more so than Juju, who is, an amazing like wide receiver. He's usually somewhere around 10th off the board in terms of wide receivers in a redraft at this point. The key get, I think, is Darius Leonard.
Oh, yeah.
And like normally you can't say that with defensive players, but after his rookie season where he just absolutely destroyed everyone, it was like, okay, this guy is clearly good, but there's no way he's that good. Is he? But then last season, I mean, he was hurt for a few games, but his game points were still just as high as 2018. So ridiculous. When you're looking at player value, you really want to look at what you can get out of someone compared to what else is at the position. It's not just an absolute. And Leonard is far and away the most valuable defensive player in the league. And on top of that, he's on a rookie deal where he's making $420,000. So he can be extended for a long time. So
when was he drafted, and if that's his contract?
He was drafted in the 3rd round. I mean, I've complained about it before, but I was debating between him and some dude on Tennessee, and I actually liked Leonard better, but I listened to the rankings because I'm a bit of a rankings bitch myself, and that was stupid, but it is what it is. I think the trade was generally reasonable overall. They're like. A lot of the ones that are coming up, I'm going to have very clear this side one opinion. This was like more of a preference, I think.
Well, I mean, I think so probably, but we're gonna avoid the Randall Cobb decision out of this because clearly he was the best player.
Yeah, he did so much in Thursday's game. That,
I didn't even know he was on the floor. I was like, is he gonna get anything? I don't think he had. I think he had a bagel. He put up a bagel. All right, so that was the first big one. Anything else to say on that one? From my end, I think my thoughts being that I think Luis jumped at the opportunity to get Kamara because of Luis's ability to trade Kamara. Like I don't think he was at any point intending to keep Kamara as one of his players because his team was so bananas all over the place.
Yeah, where has Kamara gone? Is he still on Luis's roster, or did he get traded somewhere else?
No, he's gone. He's gone to the guy you're playing.
Oh Christ! Fine.
All right. So the next shoe that dropped, and I will agree with Chris right here, where I triggered the chaos, was me deciding to rebuild, and this was based on a couple different things. I just want to kind of throw my mindset out there, and at least into going into the rebuild. That was always the thought in the back of my head because my team was definitely not a great team. It was a good team with some good players, but like kind of in that middling area that we've talked about. Like, are we going to actually be competitive? Probably make the playoffs, but who knows? But the bigger problem I saw is I had no levers to do anything in terms of improvement. Like it was big contract players, a single injury, and that was it for my team. And that happened, not injury, but in the form of Leonard Fournette getting cut by the Jags, just threw everything into chaos. Like if I no longer have two top running backs that I could start. Even after he joined Tampa Bay, there's so much uncertainty there, and I don't think he's gonna be like, this just, he's brand new to the system. I don't know.
He's not.
So then that's when I started like shopping my players, and Jason was the first to get right into it. And so then I'll read out the trade. So Jason's team gave up his 2021 first round pick, his own 2021 first round pick turned down for Watt, and a 2021 second-round pick, his own, for Leonard Fournette and Joe Mixon. This is after Mixon signed the extension.
Yeah, this one got worse for you as Jason continued to do what he did. It started out where it's like, Fournette is worth basically nothing. So, I mean, you got, at the time, sort of like a mid to late first, a late first, and a late or mid to late second. But that's just become a late first, another late first, and a late second.
Yeah. We'll see what happens in Khalil's division. But I mean, I would agree overall.
Given what other people went for in the upcoming trades, I don't think your return was bad.
I'm with it.
I think it's reasonable. I think this one was probably a pretty fair one as well. I think Jason may have gotten a little more value, like in terms of what someone should go for, but not in terms of what you could get. Like, I think you basically maximize your return. I just don't think the return is necessarily worth it. I think people very much overvalue draft picks in this league, and not like, hey, here's a player who's young and performing well and on a reasonable contract. And that's exactly what Jason ended up taking advantage of constantly. That people are like, oh, maybe I can get a second round pick and maybe get a good player out of that. And I'll trade my already good, young, controllable player for that possibility.
So like for me, I thought it was pretty clear. It's I like Joe Mixon a lot. That's a big piece in this. But if I am going to rebuild, by the time my team is competitive, I don't know where Joe Mixon is in his career. Shelf life of running backs isn't all that long. So for me, it just didn't make sense. Where like I had to take what I could get, and I got, I think, the return that I wanted for sure. There wasn't a lot of teams that were able to give me that either, like 2 firsts and a second, and kind of being ready to go for it. So to me, I'm okay with it still. I did push to get one of the other picks, but that's how back and forth with trades go. And it was time to start the teardown. The teardown began. And that teardown was also, that move was also kind of in the exact same time I was in discussions, as you can see by the time difference between these two moves was about 7 minutes. I was also in discussion on the next trade we'll talk about. Is there anything else to say on this one, Phil, or we move on to the next?
Not really. I mean, we have 17 trades.
Yeah, let's keep going. So the next big one, and let me know if I've missed any. I'm just going through the list on timestamp. So the next big one being myself giving up Chris Thompson, Tyler Boyd, and Christian Kirksey to Ron Mexico's Avocados, who sent back Sean Jackson, David Njoku, Brian Burns, Jalen Ramsey, his 2022 first-round draft pick, and his 2022 second-round draft pick. So the keys of this trade really being Tyler Boyd and Christian Kirksey for David's side, and for my side, Brian Burns and the picks.
Yeah. I mean, this one is one of those things where I actually value Tyler Boyd a lot more than most people seem to. When you look at a redraft league, he goes somewhere around like 70th to 80th overall, which seems crazy to me. I mean, he's been good for a while. He's been good with AJ Green. He's been good without AJ Green. I don't know what this guy needs to do in order to get more respect, but people just don't give a shit despite him getting 1,000 yards 2 years in a row now. If you consider how people overall seem to value Tyler Boyd, you made out really well. If you consider what his actual value is, in my opinion, I think this is kind of a fair trade. Like it may be a little much on David's side, a first and a second, and Brian Burns for Boyd. I don't know how much I value Kirksey, I guess, is part of the problem, but it's not much.
I thought that Kirksey had value this year. He definitely doesn't have long-term value, but I thought because he basically steps into the Blake Martinez role in Green Bay. If he could stay healthy
after 2 years of not really being healthy, though.
Not being. Yeah, that's the
what impact 2 years away from football is going to have is the problem. Yeah. Other than that, he was doing great before that.
Yeah, so that's the key: is does he stay healthy, and if he does stay healthy, has he lost a step of being away from football for 2 years? But that was definitely one of the key pieces for David, was bolstering those linebackers after he saw his linebacker grade in your projections. And I agree with you on Tyler Boyd. I really like Tyler Boyd, and I could have just held on to Tyler Boyd because wide receiver shelf life is longer. I do think he'll be the number one guy in Cincinnati eventually. I don't think they'll keep tagging, or I don't think AJ Green will want to keep getting tagged. If he has a good year, he's going to look for a big deal somewhere. So yeah, like for me, it was, and in our league, that's an insane contract. $6.6 million for like 4 years.
I will say, like you're mentioning, that Kirksey moves into Blake Martinez's old role, so maybe it's a replacement. And I've talked about that before with Tahir Whitehead going into Carolina and stuff. But it's not really that simple with linebackers in terms of a replacement on the role, because a lot of the times, like Blake Martinez is not a good linebacker. He's a good fantasy linebacker, but he's not a good linebacker. The reason he gets a lot of fantasy points is he tends to abandon his assignment extremely quickly to go after the ball. Now, what that means is he's going to get a lot of tackles because he's like, sometimes he's right on that decision.
Fantasy points, maybe.
Tackle, but a lot of the time he just ends up failing, and then whoever he was supposed to be covering gets the ball. Like his coverage is just brutal. But it depends on how Kirksey plays. I think Kirksey is a better linebacker in general, so I think he'll be fine. But he's certainly not going to be as aggressive in just attacking the football as Martinez was.
Well, I'm getting some agreement. I think we're both getting some agreement on the Boyd end, and Boyd being a star. I really do think he is. And
yeah, I end up with him in a ton of my redraft league or like the best ball things because I don't know why he falls to where he does in drafts.
Yeah, because he was doing that. He was doing that in many years with Andy Dalton, and Andy Dalton's not a bad quarterback, but he's not by any means a star quarterback. And I mean, it also depends on how Joe Burrow plays in the NFL. I personally think he'll do well, but who knows? Okay, so that is trade number 3. Let's move on to the next big one. This is part of Jason's continued contender building. So Jason's team, Cloud to Ground, gives up Paris Campbell, Deebo Samuels, a 2021 first-round draft pick from Lucas Shies, a 2021 first-round draft pick from Cotton, and a 2021 third-round draft pick that is his own, the Cloud to Ground one. Lucas Shies giving up Josh Jacobs and Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, this was not good. It's by far not the worst of what we're going to get to, but it was not good. Like, Kamara and Jacobs are worth 2 firsts and maybe a little bit more. Similar to sort of your return on Mixon, right? He ended up getting, I would say, the equivalent of 3 firsts, because Deebo Samuel's worth 1 as well. And then, his own pick is going to be pretty high this year, I think is sort of the incentive there.
Yeah.
Ryan shouldn't be. Paris Campbell is at this point no more than a wild card worth like late second, early third in my view. So I think Cloud to Ground won this one, but I don't think it was. I guess it wasn't terrible. I think Luis probably could have gotten a lot more, or maybe not a lot more, but at least a decent amount more.
I think one of the things with a lot of these Jason trades too is Jason was one of the only teams in a position with multiple firsts to be able to even make the offer, right? Like, how many teams could have made a 3 first round, even 4 first round pick level offer, which puts him in an interesting position to be the guy that is able to make these deals.
Who could have and should have and didn't is Mark. Mark has the draft.
Right. Mark has multiple firsts. Yeah.
Like, it would have been perfect, but Mark's just, until like the last few days where he's like, hey, I'm looking for a running back. He's basically had the whole offseason being like, yeah, you know what? I don't need anyone who can run the ball. So I don't know what's going on there, but I mean, there were people capable of it. I think Wario has a bit of capital he could trade if he wanted to. Like, Ryan and David have both burned through all of theirs, so there's not much that can be done there. But I think Khalil probably still has some, but like, similar to me, what are you really giving up for another running back? What's the point? So
that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about.
And maybe that's why you have to accept a little bit less. So from Luis's standpoint, I get this. There's still some trades where it's just like, if that's the most you can get, you just don't do it. And we haven't gotten to one of these yet, but they're coming up.
What is interesting is Mark did, I think very early on, did reach out to me just asking, like, no real discussions what my requirement for Mixon was, probably right after he got the extension. And I said it. It was basically what I ended up getting. That was the end of it. So like, it's interesting because I know that I completely forgot, because he hasn't been involved in these conversations, that he has a lot of firsts, but Mark might be one of the players that really values firsts. So before we move on, at this point, Jason's team's running backs were Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Josh Jacobs, Leonard Fournette, DeAndre Swift, and Cam Akers. Among some others, but like,
this is where I was mocking him and being like, you can't put 5 running backs out there. You need wide receivers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Chris decided to make that easy on him.
All right. So is that the next one we're getting into? Let me scroll up. There was a bit of a.
We'll have Ryan and Luis.
Yeah. So let's talk about this one. So we've got another trade between Ryan and Luis. Ryan gives up James White, who he signed this offseason. How do you pronounce this name? Alberto. It's 2021 round 4 draft pick from Cloud to Ground. Luis giving up Todd Gurley, Ito Smith, and a 2021 6th round draft pick from Lucas Shies. So Ryan looking at an upgrade at running back and a bit of a pick swap. What do you think?
So this Denver tight end, that's how I'm going to refer to him because I don't even want to try.
I don't know who he is.
He's around a bit as though he has value, and I don't really see it. It's not like Denver doesn't have a very young end who already has shown, he can produce, is going to be the main target. And the odds of Denver moving to a 2 tight end scheme, I don't think are particularly high, given their wide receivers. So
they have some good weapons.
Yeah, so I don't understand why this guy keeps getting traded, like why anyone would want him, but whatever. The main component of this is definitely the running backs, and I think it depends if you're chasing floor or ceiling here. If you're looking for floor, James White is a better option. If you're looking for ceiling, Gurley is a better option, but Gurley could just fucking collapse at any moment. They're both making way too much money, so that sort of offsets things.
So what is your overall opinion on that floor versus ceiling when you're in Ryan's position? Do you look for trying to because he's in a unique position where he kind of needs to hit a couple of home runs here and there because of all the competition that's in your conference. So he's really trying to win his division to secure a spot, but he's going up against very tough competition, and David's team is no slouch either. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think he's doing it right. I think if you're in a situation where there's not a lot of competition, you want to be the one going for the floor, so you can make one of the spots. And when it was basically before Jason did all his shit, then I think you chase floor because there's 4 or 3 playoff spots for 4 people. And I think if you're going for floor, you're going to secure one of those spots. You're not going to be the lowest one there because someone who's chasing ceiling will fail, and that will be the team that's out. But after Jason did all this, once it's 5 teams going for 3, I think going for the ceiling is the better approach. And the reason I like Ryan's side on this one, the key piece of this trade, believe it or not, I think is Ito Smith. He's not a good running back, but it's basically some insurance for if it just fucking sucks.
That's true.
That whole he's getting the ceiling element, but he's also negating the risk that usually comes with that boom or bust sort of player.
Almost getting the ceiling and the floor.
And I think people have been saying that there's some risk with James White, I guess, because who knows if Newton will throw to him as much. But it's not like Newton wasn't Christian McCaffrey. So I don't think that'll be a problem. But still, I prefer Ryan's side of this largely for Ito Smith, as ridiculous as it sounds.
Very interesting. And also there is some risk with Cam Newton, but Cam Newton doesn't make the decisions on how they play either. And also he's through a lot to. Well,
he makes a decision on where he throws. Belichick can call a play where there's someone White going out of the backfield, but if Newton doesn't want to target him, he's not getting targeted. I don't think that'll be the case, but it will affect things.
No. Yes, Denver will be going to Gronk and Jarwin. Interesting. I wonder how many other teams are flexing 2 tight ends in this league. I think that's a different question. But we should move on.
There's a reason for Chris to be doing it, as he had Kittle and that LA dude. But Higbee? No, Higbee's a bad one. I don't even remember. Yeah, Higbee.
Breaking news: Galladay out, so you might want to make some changes if you haven't made them.
Players who are doubtful are out 95% of the time. He was never going to be in my lineup this week.
Oh, okay. I thought he was kind of in and out.
Nah.
All right, so the next trade on the list is just a small one. I'll make a quick mention. Luis flipping James White over to Jayville for Kirk Cousins. I guess this is a salary move?
I think it's combination of salary and Luis needing a backup quarterback. I don't know.
So, I don't know. Anyways, let's move on to the one that I think you're going to have a lot to say about. This is one of our favorites, Chris Back, trading with the other Chris. It was a Chris versus Chris trade. Death Valley Red Tails giving up Gardner Minshew, Stephon Diggs, who was making $28 million, TJ Hawkinson, Danny Trevathan, his my first round draft pick, which is very valuable now, and Wario's first round draft pick for 2021. Chris giving up Dak Prescott, Odell Beckham Jr., making $31 million. Chris Godwin, George Kittle, Leighton Vander Esch, his 2021 second round draft pick and his 2022 second round draft pick.
Yeah, when I've been mentioning some of the trades are just terrible, this is one of them.
Right. Like the Chris's are here. The Chris's are here to listen to you.
So at first I didn't think this made sense for either Chris, but it makes sense for Chris Back if he could flip some of these guys. Because he still wasn't going to compete with them. So flip some of these guys for something more because he underpaid dramatically. Like Godwin, Kittle, both of them are worth like 2 firsts on their own. And I know Chris has mentioned, getting Beckham off my team, huge, et cetera, et cetera. Someone would have done it for hey, give me a 3rd round pick and I'll take Beckham's contract off of you. It's not like Beckham has no value at this point. He's just being overpaid. He got Prescott out of it too. He got Van Der Esch out of it. And interestingly enough, there are 2 second-round picks, so it's not like it's completely offsetting the first, but it's really reducing the value of them.
Yeah, that's true.
He essentially got a late first and early first, and tight end who's probably worth, I don't know, early second in my mind at this point, as well as some garbage for something that is probably worth about 5 or 6 first round picks.
Yeah.
He gave
George
up.
Kittle has to be the most valuable player here, right?
Kittle and Godwin are both easy.
And
they're both contract for a long time at a very low cost. They're both worth a fortune.
And as much as I don't like Dak Prescott as a quarterback, he's a good fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's on a crazy cheap contract.
Yeah, exactly. Unless he doesn't this year, he should be fine. Next year, we'll see if he stays in Dallas. Because if he doesn't, his stock is going to plummet. But I making this trade even more perplexing was the fact that Chris could have been in the playoffs. Well, Chris Perkins.
He could have been in the playoffs. He was in the playoffs.
I have almost $30 million of cap space. I probably would have.
I have it now. After making the big trades that I made, I had it too.
Any team that's rebuilding is likely going to have cap space, and if they can get a pick off just taking Beckham, they're going to do it. There's no reason not to.
But also, if you from my point of view, if you're rebuilding, and maybe I'm missing something obvious here, what's the harm in just holding on to that player and seeing if someone goes desperation move, needs to make a run? I know it's a lot to move around and try to make happen, but worst case scenario, you can just give up a pick to get rid of the contract. But is that any worse than just holding on to him until his contract's over? Is it a long contract?
If you're rebuilding, that doesn't matter anyway. Now, the key thing here, I think, is Beckham's contract. It's not just this year; it's through 2022. But there's
2022.
There's honestly an argument to be made of being I'm just going to cut him and just eat 40
I totally would do that. I would totally do that. It's this hurting my own draft capital next year. If I'm in this position next year and I had Odell, I'd just cut him.
Either way, what makes this more confusing to me is that Chris Perkins was in a position to make the playoffs. He was the favorite to be the wild card.
Yes, without a doubt. After I stopped playing,
this rebuild was more out of boredom than anything, and it's a terrible start to it. He just collapsed his team for what I see as no real reason and getting very little out of it. So I've thought back of how did Jason turn a few draft picks into this good of a team? And this is the main reason, right? Where people don't understand the value of what an amazing player on a cheap a long-term contract is. that is why Jason was able to do this.
Because I think if, like, in terms of a rebuild situation, each of Godwin and Kittle could have gotten like in different deals with other people, could have netted like firsts, and Dak
more
actually.
than like
was
like
netted multiple firsts.
Yeah. And I mean, I swear in the past I've asked about Godwin and stuff, and at the time Chris had reasonable demands for these players. And all of a sudden they went out the window without anyone really knowing that they could get these guys for basically nothing. So
well, that started an interesting turn in this whole thing, because up until this point, I think, and not this point yet, and as we get to one of the further trades, but it was still like Jason has significantly improved the team, but all on running backs. He has no wide receivers. His WR1 was Henry Ruggs at the time, and Austin Hooper starting in as his tight end. So let's move on to another deal involving Sandwich. So this Year of the Sandwich and 100% Cotton. Year of the Sandwich giving up Tyler Higbee and Jaylen Brown for Antonio Brown, 2021 third-round pick from Ron Mexico, and a 2022 fourth-round pick from Cotton.
Huge deal for Ryan here.
Yeah.
Once again, I don't know what Chris is doing. Like, Higbee is coming off a great season, not making a lot of money, and he's trading him for an albatross of a contract and Antonio Brown and some garbage picks. Like, what the fuck? There's no upside in this at all.
Because Tyler Higbee, according to Fantasy Pros, is the number 8 tight end, ahead of Hayden Hurst and guys like Jared Cook, Gronkowski, and Austin Hooper. So like he's
he finished last, and if he plays like he ended last season, he'll be a top 3 tight end next year. I mean, there's some questions about whether that can happen, but like there's a lot of upside with him. Yeah, I know time will tell.
Depends on what if time means that Antonio Brown is gonna just get it together.
Antonio Brown is same. Time will tell if
same normal person. Oh, maybe he's talking about AP. All right, let's move on. We need to talk about this is probably part of the same trade. Jerome Baker for Micah Kaiser.
I don't know if it is or not, but it's just pick your linebacker. They have similar value, so
all right.
Take your preference.
We'll keep on moving. A bunch of ad drops, and then we get to the next big one, which I think you'll have a lot to say about. Chris Back and Cloud to Ground. Death Valley Red Tails giving up newly acquired Chris Godwin and George Kittle, and a 2021 third-round draft pick from Wario. Cloud to Ground giving up Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, Blake Jarwin, 2021 second-round draft pick from Death Valley, 2021 first-round draft pick from Cloud to Ground, and 2022 second-round draft pick from Cloud to Ground.
So let me start by saying I've shit on Chris Back a lot over years and years of him making terrible trades. I don't think he necessarily got full value for Godwin and Kittle here. But when you just compare what he actually gave up, like a few days earlier versus what he got in return, he definitely improved his team.
Yeah.
Without question.
I gotta say.
Like, what did he end up coming up with here? He ended up coming up with, I guess, Akers, Swift, Jarwin, a first and 2 seconds, and gave up. Let's see back here.
He gave up Diggs, Hawkinson,
and 2 firsts.
Yeah, and my first, which is a valuable first.
Yeah, but even so, he came up with like Akers and Swift for almost free. That was a pretty good get for him.
Yeah, and I think this was a great trade for him.
5 picks essentially that he just got in these running backs.
Yeah, because at first when this happened, when I saw the first trade happen, I was like, is Chris making the very unintelligent decision right now to compete in?
Yeah, that was my
to get into the fray of the 5. Like, of the 5 teams going for 3 spots, is he going to try and get at the fray of that? Which was sounded crazy to me. But then he flipped it for like you said. There probably was a bit more value to get, but in the situation that he was in and the 2 trades that he made, and he made them pretty quick succession. Great move, great moves. Really sets him up pretty well for his rebuild. Gets to a 1.04 and 1.05 pick from this year's draft, which was a good draft, which is usually the harder players to get in draft running backs because it goes so early unless you have a high pick. He secured those, so he got 2 high picks out of it, and he's well on his way. I think it's a great trade for Chris.
Yeah, no, this was again, this trade in and of itself not spectacular. I think again, Jason came away with a better end of it, but when you look at it in combination, Chris definitely improved his team, and Chris Back definitely improved his team. Chris Perkins just completely shut. And Chris must see this when he looks at what he traded those guys for, only to have Chris Back turn around and trade a portion of what he got for more value.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I mean, we're both rebuilding at the same time, and both are kind of the ones that have in the past competed, and I have lost for the wild card spot. If we're going to be competing again, I mean, I'm obviously going to try and go for the division as I rebuild, but my rebuild is off to a better start, I think.
All right, what do we got next? I see.
All right, so next one. So the next one was a reaction, I guess, to now myself and Chris being out of the wild card race, and me very strenuously making the point to other people that you should be getting involved and making your team stronger. Not that they weren't already thinking that, but wild card's wide open in that conference, and I think this move relates to that. So this is my team giving up Philip Rivers, Russell Wilson, Russell Gage, Hayden Hurst, Thomas Davis, and Kareem Jackson. To the Cobras for Jared Goff, Ben Roethlisberger, John Ross, Rob Gronkowski, Quan Alexander, Jeremy Chin, Eric Reed, the Turret Rock first-round draft pick, and fourth-round pick from the Cobras. So the basic pieces of the deal are being Russell Wilson and Hayden Hurst for the first-round draft pick, Jeremy Chin, the fourth-round draft pick, in my view.
Yeah. And the surprising thing about this to me was that you gave Colorado traded for Russell Wilson when he was over the cap, so he managed to dump a lot of contracts on you.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
But for a trade that has so much involved, I'm just overwhelmed by the amount of mediocrity in it. I don't know. I think overall this probably it's hard to say, but I think it's a reasonable outcome for both of you. I don't particularly have strong feelings on this one, which is a good trade was made. When I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I don't care.
Hold on. I'm going to send you solo for just 1 second.
So, yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the next one is a pretty meaningless trade, so we're going to skip right past it other than mentioning that Lucas Shies gave up Mike Davis for a 6th-round pick from Ron Mexico. I think the only reason that this happened is because David has CMC, so this is just providing some insurance. And a 6th-round pick for basically a useless running back seems like pretty fair trade. It's not important, but I think it's a good move on both sides. He has no value to Luis, and David didn't have to give up a 3rd-round pick for a running back who got cut. Let me just remind people of that move.
So sorry before we I dropped out when we were finishing the conversation on my trade with Cobras. Who did you just think it was mediocre overall? Do you think someone won it?
No, I think overall it was just it's one of those trades I look at and I'm like, I don't care about this, which means no one puts anyone off. I really only care about trades that either involve my direct competitors or someone rips someone off badly. Okay. And neither of those happened in this trade. So I look, it's a sign that it's pretty fair if I just don't give a shit about it.
All right. I must have missed this comment from before. Good for you, man. Good for you. Just do it and just keep doing it. You think Phil's gonna be right every time? I don't think so. And yeah, a whole bunch of these gamblers getting moved around. Yeah. Well, if your team was in FOMFA, you'd be hitting some big trades there, buddy. So you talked about David giving up nothing for Lamar Miller.
Yeah. Well, no, I was talking about him giving up a 6 for Mike Davis, but then just laughing.
That makes sense for him though because he's.
Yeah. This one makes sense. Yeah. It's a reasonable trade.
So we got a Turret Rock and Wario one. Did you talk about that one yet?
No, that's what I was just getting to.
Okay. So this is AJ Brown from Turret Rocks going to Wario for Will Fuller, T. Higgins, and a 2022 first-round draft pick from Wario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like about like AJ Brown has a lot of value right now. Late first plus T Higgins, which was like, as much as I hate him, he's generally considered like a late first, early second. Will Fuller, some upside there, but everyone's just like, he's going to get hurt at some point. But when he plays, he's good.
And from the first game, I mean, this probably should be expected from the first game, I suppose, but he did look like he was the favored target.
And
that's just one game.
Warrior's doing it because he sees what the other like contending teams on this side of the continent are doing. If he wants to win it all and not just get to the finals and lose, he's going to need to improve the team a bit. And I think he overpaid a little bit for AJ Brown, but in his position, I think it makes a good deal of sense. So
and he's thinking playoffs. Like, he's not thinking, because he's definitely in the playoffs. He's thinking like winning. Yeah, so this is a good move for him for winning.
Yeah, this makes sense for everyone.
Cool. All right, so we're moving on to another move that's related, I think, to grabbing that wild card in my conference. So this is myself giving up Ben, just flipping Ben and T.Y. Hilton over to Marines for Matt Ryan, purely for salary at that point. Brandon Ayuk and a 2021 third-round draft pick from the Marines.
T.Y. Hilton is currently not being valued very highly. Even if you set salary aside, he's going somewhere around like the 60 to 70 mark in drafts. So you getting Ayuk for him and a third rounder, because Ryan and Roethlisberger are basically sort of offset, other than obviously contracts, but that's where Hilton comes in.
It's contract with him. Yeah.
So, I mean, Hilton signed through 2021. Ryan is signed through this year? So if you have this year, this frees up some space next year and gets you Ayuk out of it. I like that a lot from your perspective. From Steven's perspective, I mean, given Steven is now in a position where it's like someone needs to get the damn wild card. I kind of get going after T.Y. Hilton in that sense. From everything I've read, Ayuk has been really good in training camp, so I think that's a little painful. And who is Steven's quarterback now?
It would have been Baker, I think.
Okay, because
Baker was his.
That's the unfortunate part. He dropped in quarterback. Like, Baker Mayfield is not at the level Matt Ryan is. So he's going to lose some.
Baker and Tua. It's Baker and Tua, and honestly, I'd probably start Ben in a lot of these situations to start the year.
Yeah, sure. But I think he gave up some points at quarterback, so I get what he was trying to do, and maybe it works out for him. If T.Y. goes back to being what he was, without question, this worked out for him. But there's some risk there. I don't really like the risk. I don't like the quarterback downgrade. So I don't think I think he gave up a little too much, in my opinion, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, like I thought that, I mean, obviously, like we did have some back and forth, and I think we had some good discussion that led us to the trade. I thought that T.Y.'s value, I mean, that's the risk too. Is like, to me, I was like not really sure what kind of value I'd get for T.Y. Until the year started, and we start to see, hopefully, that he would return to the form that he's always been at. But there's risk there, right? He's going with a new quarterback, but probably a better quarterback. So yeah, I was happy to make the trade at this point. I was also good with just waiting and seeing, because if he starts to get a lot of value, then I could get more for him. But he's older too, so it does definitely not part of my plans.
Yeah. Now the next one is where Steven really fucked up, in my view.
Okay, let me see. Let me see where we're at right now. Okay, so this is we're talking the trade between him and Turndown for Watt.
Yeah.
So Team Marines giving up Nick Bosa, which is huge. 2021 first-round draft pick of his own, a 2021 fifth-round draft pick of his own for Damian Harris and Sony Michel.
Terrible. Take a lap. Yeah.
Who were his running backs? Let me see, like what? Because he lost Darius Guice because of Darius Guice decided to become a maniac.
He had no one beyond Chris Carson, basically. He was in dire need of a running back, but that doesn't mean you do this trade. Like, people have been trading running backs nonstop over the last week. Harris and Michelle, neither of them are players that anyone really wants. Any sort of draft, you can get either of these guys like 10th round or later. And he gave up a mid-round first, probably. Maybe it's a little later if he actually makes the playoffs, but still, there's risk there. And Nick Bosa on a rookie deal, like he gave up as much for these guys as like most of the like good running backs were going for.
Yeah. Nick Bosa, that really hurts. Like that's a great player on a great contract.
Yeah,
it leaves his defense
like late first, sort of on his own. So this is like 2 first-round picks for running backs that may not even have a job next year. Like this is really, really bad. And
on the defensive end side, like obviously the big issue here is like Sony Michel has been going down in everyone's view. And he's got Damian Harris to kind of handcuff that a little bit.
Well, yeah, on the counter, Damian Harris, I think, is actually the better part of this deal. Like, Michel has basically lost his job to him. Yeah. Harris is out at the moment, but the thought was that Harris is going to lead the backfield this year. But the New England backfield is never something that anyone really needs. It's more just like a collective of random players. So
the only one that's dependable is James White, because he'll always get you those ceiling points.
Yeah, like this, I don't think this is redeeming this.
And he leaves his defensive end position in not a great spot either, without Bosa. So this is a weird one.
Well, 2 more to go.
All right, so we're going through them pretty good. The next one being
take a break. I hear some screaming at your door.
I'm hoping that he leaves. He will. So we got Cloud to Ground and You're the Sandwich. Cloud to Ground giving up Malcolm Brown, Derek Barnett, 4th round draft pick 2021 that belonged to Turret Rocks, a 2022 4th round draft pick of his own to get Jordan Cameron.
I mean, this is one where
Cameron Jordan, my fault.
Cameron. But this is one where my initial reaction was more outrage because I'm like, could people stop giving Jason good players for piles of crap? But at the same time, at least like Cameron Jordan is on a franchise deal, like he's making a ton of money, so he doesn't actually have that much value. For Jason, who has a payroll room, this makes a good deal of sense. And for Chris, like he has no use for him this year. And his contract is only through this year anyway. But at the same time, I don't think he really got anything too useful. I mean, don't let Jason do that to you. Don't be like, I'll give you 2 fourths instead of a second or something. Like, get a reasonable pick. But Malcolm Brown has started out the year, in theory, atop of the depth chart, but we'll see how long that lasts. So I think this is something which, again, great trade for Jason. For Chris, I don't think he's really lost anything. I feel he could have gotten more, but like at the same time with his contract, it's going to be hard to afford Jordan. And this goes back to what you're saying about like shedding payroll. I don't know why Chris is. Like, it seems like the more logical thing is to try to trade Cameron Jordan and be like, look, I'll take back some of your garbage payroll. I just want something useful for a useful player. And that seems like it would help him out long-term much more than just shedding payroll for a bunch of crap.
Oh, he was on the block for a minute before that offer came. And so is Watt. All right, then. Doesn't mean that the trade has. So I don't think this was that bad of a trade. I mean,
I'm not saying it was that bad. I think he could have done better if he had just offered to take back payroll. But he has this weird obsession with making his team not high in payroll.
All right, that brings us to the last trade, which I didn't like at all.
No, this is terrible. I don't know what David was doing.
Turned down for what? Ron Mexico. Turned down for what? Giving up Ronnie Harrison. Ron Mexico giving up a 2nd round draft pick. It's very Khalil. It's a very Khalil thing. I feel like there was a discussion that started with a 4th, and Khalil said, "Well, I want a 2nd," and David said, "Sure." I don't think it went any further than that.
Ronnie Harrison is a player who, to this point, hasn't really done anything. Like, in 2 seasons, he has a combined 3 interceptions and 3 sacks. He's not one of the safeties who's getting tackles, so he's not getting tackles or picks or set. Like, he's not doing anything. And David gave him a 2nd rounder for him. Yeah, David fucked up here. There's no like sugarcoating this one.
This is a learning experience. I think David's still figuring out I'm still figuring out valuations, but this is one that I wouldn't have made.
It's kind of funny because David, like the people in Ben Wyatt are like, the fuck are your projections? What do you know? You're not an expert. It's like, okay. David is the exact opposite. He looks at his grade. He's like, I have a C grade at this. Oh, I better trade. It's like, just
make something happen.
Overall record. Don't worry about the individual grade. You don't need a completely balanced team. You just need to overall do well.
I think I had some defensive backs that could have made that happen for him, but he was also a little bit salary constrained as well. But I don't know. I still don't.
All right. Well, those are
a lot of exciting trades ending with that one. Where does it leave us?
We should do our picks for this week for this league.
Let's do it. So do you have the I
do.
Okay.
I feel like there should have been some sort of like audio introduction, but I guess we're just at let's do it.
We're not quite there yet.
Not quite there yet.
I need to make videos for all my intros.
All right, so the first one, Chris has said that the line in turn down for Watt versus Fort Myers is 55 in favor of turn down for Watt. Not too far off what the site is saying here.
Sure. So do you want to make the pick or do I make the pick? Alternate?
Yeah, you can start with this one.
Okay. And remind me how this works. If I think that he's going to win by more than 55, then I've got the over. I'm not a gambling man. I don't understand these things.
Yeah,
okay. I will give. Let's take a quick peek at that live scoring. Turn now for Watt. Who scored for him? Because he did. Yeah, I'm gonna give him the over.
All right, I'm taking the under on this one. 55 is a lot of points. Jacksonville's got to do something, and James Robinson has no competition this week. So I like that. Preston Williams, I think, is going to outperform his projections. Deshaun Watson really didn't do too much.
He did
overall.
what he was supposed to do.
He did what he was supposed to do.
He got his projections, and I think CEH probably did better than projections.
Yeah, like that's a big spread. And, well, I don't have any doubt that Khalil is going to win this game. I think Cyril covers it.
Okay. Very nice. Are you tracking them right now?
No.
Are you just noting them down? I should write them down.
Write them down or listen later.
It's more of a pain in the ass to go back and listen. Okay. All right. Let's get a. Sorry, guys. FOMFA. So we got TD for W versus Fort Myers, and what was the? It was 55.
55. You took the over. Or you took cover. I took doesn't cover.
Okay. Cool. So next game. What is that?
A lot of wasps outside my window. I don't like it.
Outside your window.
Yeah, my window is closed. But I don't like why there are so many out there, and I'm worried that there's some sort of crack that I don't know about that they're going to get through. Next game, avocados are favored by 14. Looking at this one,
avocados by 14.
Avocados by 14.
Okay, that's an interesting one.
You know what? I got to stick with my boy Ryan here. I'm not even going to detail analyze this thing. I'm just going Ryan to cover. Or not cover, but at least, David won't cover, I guess.
I'll take David. This is a my boy versus my boy situation.
All right. I mean, you need a better boy. Rod Mexico's avocados hold a 1-7 all-time record against 100% cotton.
Yeah, it's that's true. But I think that although I think Ryan did get more than I expected out of David Johnson in game one. Still going with my boy. So for me, I said David cover and Phil Ryan. Okay. All right.
Death
Next
Valley
game.
versus Lucas Eyes. Death Valley is favored by 25 at the moment.
Okay. Favored by 25. So that's the odds?
Yeah.
Side is saying more. Has anyone played on these two teams yet?
I mean, Randall Cobb did on Luis's team.
Yeah.
That's about it. No one important.
These are too nasty.
Luis's bad team, that might be important.
What's that, sir?
I said for Luis's bad team, Randall Cobb might be important.
I'll take Chris to cover 25 points.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think I'm going to say the same thing here.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Next up.
We got Colorado versus Marines. Colorado is favored by 5.
Sorry, 1 hour. Hey, Dan is in the podcast. Huge. Sorry, I haven't seen him on the podcast yet. Sorry. What was the line?
Colorado Marines. Colorado's favored by 5.
This is an interesting game because these guys are basically the two that are. This is a big game for both players.
Yeah, I'm taking Colorado to cover this one.
It's by 5, eh?
By 5.
His running backs are going to murder. Julio Jones, at the very least, will murder. Anything on Steven's side that makes me think differently? Better linebacker. Yeah, I think I agree with you.
When in doubt, go with the team with the nerd kicker on it. That's the punter. I've got the nerd kicker. I forgot that.
Cobras versus Marines. I'll take Cobras to cover.
All right. Turret Rock.
And that was a 5? That was just 5?
Yeah, just 5 points.
Okay. All right. Sorry, what was Death Valley? That was 25? Sorry, I just forgot to note these down.
Death Valley is 25, yeah.
And Ryan versus Cotton? Oh, sorry. Cotton versus David?
Yeah, that one is avocados are favored by 14.
Okay. All right, cool. So who's next?
Turret Rocks versus your team. Turret Rocks is favored by 40. That is embarrassing, man.
I am rebuilding. How's that embarrassing? Like, my team is horrible. I'm starting Frank Gore and Wayne Gallman. Both who might not play.
Gore will play. Wayne Gallman, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that was just I had literally one. One running back. I needed one to be legal.
Can someone who's listening tell David that I'm recording a podcast and I'm not going to check his lineup?
Why does he want to check? Can he check his lineup?
I don't know. He sent a message in the league asking if I could check his lineup. Someone just make sure his lineup is legal. I think it is, but
it doesn't let you submit it if it's not legal. Is it?
I assume, but who knows?
Okay. So you're making the call or me?
No, it's you this time.
In the past, I've done well betting against myself, and Brandon Cooks did nothing. So I'm going to go with me. With Turret Rocks covering. Sorry.
Yeah, I think they'll also cover 40 points.
Yeah. I hope they don't, just because I like to be a bit of a spoiler, but there's no way I'll win, so I'm not spoiling here. All right.
Sandwich Wario. The line we've been given on here is a whopping 70-point favorite for Wario.
70-point favorite for Wario?
7-0, yeah.
Wow. Okay. I guess you're making a call to start. That's a big number.
Yeah, I mean, Wario's going to win, but like trying to cover that is hard. I'm going with Sandwich to not lose by 70.
I'm also going with Sandwich just because his kick returner's already got 8.5 points, which is more than you can normally get out of a kick returner. Yeah. Although JJ Watt did nothing. So that maybe balances those two out. Kelsey had a good game. Tyreek had an okay game for his standards. Yeah, it's like I can't see. Do I want to make this interesting? Do I think that Wario's going to really beat the piss out of him? Who's Cleveland playing? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm saying not 70.
Okay. So we'll on sandwich here.
Okay. Next. Last game? No.
Not quite.
Two more.
The Hookers versus Jayville.
Hookers versus Jayville.
And that one is the Hookers are favored by 27.
Okay. This one's a little bit interesting because they're both teams that should be in similar positions, and also both teams that spent a lot in free agency. I was very surprised that Jayville didn't respond to a lot of my offers on not as expensive wide receivers, but he picked up Allen Robinson and Adam Thielen, both in the 30 mil range, I think. Starting DK Metcalf. So Hookage is favored?
Yeah, by 27.
No, I'm saying Jayville on this one.
I will also go Jayville.
So Jayville.
And finally, this pains me to say it,
Woo-hoo!
but
The big one.
Cloud to ground. The line is
Sixers
Cloud to ground
versus
by 2.
Cloud to ground by 2?
Cloud to ground by 2 is what Chris has given us.
Ooh, this is close. I think I got to call this one first, right?
Well, I mean, you just called the last one. I can call this one first.
Okay. You call this one first. Go ahead. I just thought this is the showdown.
On one hand, like, I feel like saying I'm going to win is a recipe for disaster, but at the same time, I got to show my team some love here. I mean, I said on Thursday night, if Butker and Mahomes didn't get to 40, I was happy. They didn't. Mm-hmm. So I think this is going to be a close one overall. I think the 2 line is fair, but I'm gonna hope that I win and say that I'm going to win.
All right. I think my gut tells me that you're going to win, but to make it interesting, because Pat Mahomes gave you what you expect Pat Mahomes to give you, which is insane. It's 25 points, but it's it wasn't over what you'd expect to get. And Butker, same kind of deal. He still got Kittle to go. He still got.
Knowing I have to start Kirk instead of Sanders, like this could have been better.
Yeah, I think let's make it interesting. We've had a couple agreements here. I'll go with C2G to cover 2 points.
All right, want to do rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to make their lock of the week / shoe in of the week?
Yeah, I can actually put the clips on, but I didn't have them ready. But next time I'll have them ready instead of just the sound effects. Are we gonna rock, paper, scissors live? One round, just live, one. You gotta get your. Remember, it's got to be up here.
On 3, okay.
All right.
1,
2.
This is hard. Hang on.
All right. You count them down. You count it down, and
I'll start at 5, but we're actually
okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I had paper. You got scissors. Sorry.
All right. That didn't work out well. We're gonna have to find a better system in the future.
You won over Phil? I won Phil over. I don't think you did. Did I miss something? I don't think you did.
Oh no, I just said that he wasn't going to lose by 70, I believe.
You know what, Chris? Good on you. All right.
So my lock of the week is going to be I think I'm going to take Jayville.
Jayville?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's the one I was going to take.
I think him versus the Hookers. I think they're actually pretty comparable teams.
I think that's a close. Yeah, I think that's a close game. Yeah. Damn it.
You gotta take something else, sir.
That's why you lose the rock, paper, scissors.
That's what you get for taking paper.
Yeah. You know what? I'm hearkening back to last year. I had a lot of success going with my boy as my shoe in of the week. I'm going to take David.
That's a pretty big shoe.
Yeah, that's a pretty big shoe. Lock. Phil takes Jayville. Shoe. I take. Okay. All right. Can we move over to the only thing we're going to talk about on Ben Wyatt this week?
The predictions.
Sorry, Ben Wyatt. This was a big trade week on FOMFA. I hope the I hope the chat was still interesting about all that happened. I know you guys don't get to see the contracts or whatnot, but I think we did a good job describing it. Let's officially move to Ben Wyatt.
Did they make any trades? There was, well,
there's
the
a
first
couple.
Yeah, but they were before the last podcast. The last one that was made was the all of my draft for all of your draft trade.
Yeah, that was funny. We did talk about that last time. And Dan is ridiculing his own brother for not getting the rival video done. That would have added more content.
Yeah, that would have added more content for sure.
I feel like next one's going to have quite a few of them. All right, so let's bust out the matchups there.
Yeah.
Are you still looking at the wall? They can't get in.
The 2 layers of glass, which concern me even more.
They can't get in, man.
Well, you say that, but like last time I was
working together
in my apartment. So
are they going to start working together and formulate some kind of a plan? They're going to get in with the groceries,
maybe. All right.
Let's go.
So,
I have my team going first because I'm logged in. So you tell me who's the real.
And I'll let you make your lock of the week first in this one to even things
good.
out.
That's fair.
All right, so let me go to the fantasy preview here. So the first one, I guess, that's showing, my team, I'm not logged in actually, and it's still saying me versus Malibu is the first one.
Okay.
And it's apparently my team by 5 is the line on this one.
Your team by 5.
My team by 5.
So I guess you make this pick because I made the last one.
All right. Well, unlike in the other
again
league,
for your team, interesting.
I'm not going to show myself as much love in this one. I actually really like Malibu's team. I'm really worried about it, and I'm going to say Malibu wins.
Malibu wins? Okay. So Malibu, because unless it's a super close game, do I want to make the call that you're going to win, but by less than 5? Let me see. Malibu's got a nice team. Malibu's got a nice team. Good defense.
The best hope I have is that Kyler Murray is playing the Niners, so it's not like he can. It's likely for him to throw up a bunch of points here.
I'm gonna say you.
But sorry,
I'm gonna say you.
All right.
So this was Coopers versus Malibu, with the line of 5, favored to
me.
So then just fill the cover, the winning cover.
It's embarrassing that there are some lines that are like 40-45 when we all had an even chance to sign players at the beginning of it.
Phil takes Malibu. Okay. Next game.
So next one we have Oakland versus San Diego. San Diego is currently favored by 17.
Okay. Oakland, San Diego. San Diego by 15. Okay. I gotta make this pick, don't I? Let me take a look at these teams here. Derek Carr. Divino Zigbo. Is he even the starter?
No, he's on the IR. He's on the IR. I don't know what. I don't think Jason is paying too much attention to his team in this league at the moment. Because there are 2 players who aren't starting who are in his starting lineup.
Well, I have to assume he changes that.
Is he going to change it?
Yeah. I'll take San Diego cover.
I will also take San Diego to cover because there is no one really for him to change it to.
Oh, that maybe explains it. All right.
I mean, he has players who might get a couple of points, but they're not going to do much. He still should put them in. This is ridiculous, but
yeah. All right. What's next?
Houston versus Las Vegas. Houston is a 7-point favorite. I'm looking at these teams here. I wish in the preview screen it showed you who they were up against. Actually, I think there's a different screen where it does.
If you go into the actual preview, so like the where they have the write up, that should show you. But I'm just looking at live scoring. You can see it on live scoring.
I'm looking at the preview. I should look at live scoring because the previews don't say who any of the teams are playing.
Oh, who the players are playing. Right. You're right. Yeah.
So who are we on here? We're on Houston, Vegas?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, this is more helpful. And Houston is currently favored by 7.
Favored.
They're starting Kerryon Johnson and Chris Thompson. That's ugly.
Yeah, that's ugly. Oh, wait. Las Vegas is.
Yeah.
But also Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, but that's true. Yeah, I'm going Houston will cover.
Houston will cover? All right.
Houston will cover.
I was tempted to go there because Chris Jones getting 11. And decent points out of his that might change my decision. Decent points out of his cornerback. He's starting 2 cornerbacks.
We all start 2 cornerbacks.
Oh, right. You can flex another safety.
Yeah,
Maybe
or a corner. Who's going to flex a corner or over a linebacker? That sounds
over
great.
a linebacker. Yeah. I like Vegas' side of this. Showing some love to my boy Denver. So takes Vegas cover. Phil takes Houston. Okay.
All right, and West Waco versus San Antonio. I don't know what Chris meant by this. He said Waco favored by 5 or even with San Antonio roster change. I don't know what that means. if you have a different roster, it would be even, yes. But I meant lineup change, but I don't know when he set this. So let's say 5.
So what? So 5 for who?
West Waco. Chris, if you're watching, can you let me know if you've reset your lineup this morning? Because that apparently changes the line on this. Ironically, starting Miles Sanders and Divine Ozigbo did not change the line according to Chris's odds.
Vegas's team is owned by a different city. It's interesting. Denver owning Vegas.
No comment from Chris on if he's.
I have not seen anything come through. Chris Perkins. I have not.
He has not. Okay, so I guess it's Waco by 5.
Waco by 5. So what was the issue there? He's starting someone who's not playing or something?
I don't even know. It just says or even with San Antonio roster change. I don't know what's meant by that.
Tyler Boyd, Van Jefferson, Serge. Not a huge fan of his wide receivers outside of Boyd. Obviously, monster running backs. Oh shit! I was looking at Doug Peterson, Philly versus Washington. You could see that being a big gap, but Bill Belichick's got Patriots versus Miami, which would also be a big gap. You know what? Throwing a lot of hate Chris Perkins' way, I'm going to go with Chris Perkins today.
I'm also going with Chris. Okay. Not like you're hating on his wide receivers and they're not good, but it's not like West Waco's wide receivers are all that good
that's
either.
True.
And when you've got Saquon and McCaffrey, he's got the better quarterback. You know, like I think he's in a good position. I probably would have favored him, and so the line of Waco favored by 5. I'm definitely going on this one.
Yeah, I have to agree. 2 safeties playing, so not great thing. You got us both. You did it, Chris. At least in Ben Wyatt so far for game 1.
All right, the next one's interesting in that a lot of the games have happened already. Washington, who's already got 47.3 against Scranton, who's got 22.8. Scranton got the game they were hoping for, I think, out of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We'll see if this happens with Jonathan Taylor. I'm not banking on it. That's why I'm starting Christian Kirk over him in the other league. But so
what's the line?
The line on this one is Washington by 20.
20. Okay. Not huge. Let's see. What are we looking at here? But yeah, you're right. Probably got more points out of CEH than I would have thought. Going big on the Steelers with Ben and James Conner. I don't think you get much out of Jonathan Taylor game 1. But when you say he got a lot out of CEH, So did Washington out of David Johnson, more than I thought. And he got what Pat Mahomes doing Pat Mahomes things. Brian Edwards and Deontay Johnson. I don't like the look of that at all. It's a better receiver situation.
Yeah, neither of these teams look great to me. But
who's picking first on this one? This is a tough one.
I don't know. I'll say I go first. Yeah, I think I go first on this one.
Okay.
Given I don't like either of the teams and Mahomes didn't just flat out dominate, I'm going to go with Scranton covers the 20 point. Or not cover. Again, like Washington doesn't cover the 20.
Yeah.
Scranton.
So you're going with Scranton. Scranton. I'm going to say that Cyril covers. I mean, again, not great situations, but I say Cyril. I'd prefer. I mean, overall, I prefer that Cyril loses. It's just because we're in the same division, but I think he covers. Okay,
you're in the same division as all these people.
Same conference?
No, same division. These are all divisional games. You're in a division with Scranton.
Oh yeah. So it doesn't really matter. But I think Cyril is a better team.
All right. Next up, we have yourself versus the Jersey Giants. And you are favored by 40 points.
Jesus. 40. I think I was more confident about that until Jersey got what they should get out of Deshaun Watson, so it shouldn't throw things off too much. So I'll pick this one, I guess. Let's see. Ew, Jesus. Got Cole Beasley and Alan Lazard as two starting wide receivers here. I like Evan Ingram. I'll believe in myself. I'll say me by 40.
See, I'm just so outraged that one team can be that much better than another team coming out of the inaugural auction. So I'm going to say that Jersey handles 40 points.
All right. Yeah, that's true. This is an auction where everyone had fair game. Okay. I certainly think I'll win.
Next up, we have South Park and Chicago. I've been given a line of South Park favored by 3. Very close game.
What does the site say? What does the site say?
I don't know what the site says. I moved on to live scoring to see who's playing who.
It's Chris set these. Oh, the site had it even, like dead even. Like Chicago by 0.02, so that's dead even. That's very interesting. Live scoring, what has happened so far in this game? Chicago has played 2 players. Got a great night out of Sammy Watkins.
Sammy Watkins did a lot better than you would expect him.
That moves it to me, and you got a nice night out of Frank Clark too. But Sammy Watkins, I think, overperformed for sure. You're picking first, so you go ahead.
I'm going South Park. I don't know why. I feel Ronald Jones is probably going to do better than people are giving him credit for. Really liking Raheem Mostert this season. I don't know what Hines is going to do. That's a big wild card. But I like the receivers better. I like the defense a lot better. And Lamar Jackson is just outrageous, right? Like,
yes.
You never know what Cam Newton's going to do, but Lamar Jackson, I assure you, will get plenty of points. So
banking on a big one from Lamar Jackson myself.
and further, I think that Mike Vrabel might get some out of playing against Denver here. Pete Carmichael Jr. up against the Tampa Bay. That's going to be a shootout, I think. So there'll be some points there. Whereas Matt Nagy, why would you ever have Matt Nagy as your coach?
I know.
It's a losing team, and you're gonna that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I'm going South Park here.
I was actually going with Chicago, but the coaches have really killed it for me here.
Don't let my reasoning convince you otherwise.
No. But as you were talking, because they have better running backs, and they got a better performance out of Sammy Watkins than you would think. So I think initially I was like that definitely puts them over. But then again, cornerback 1 point out of Charvarius Ward doesn't help that case. That brings it down a bit. Yeah, that brings it down a little bit. I'm gonna go with South Park as well. So razor close.
And finally, we have Enniscorthy versus Hollywood. The line, I assume, is Hollywood by something. Hollywood by 45.
Again, another huge, a huge spread coming out of a pretty a entry draft, like an entry auction, which is unfortunate. The site has it Hollywood by 31. I don't always trust that site though. Let's see. Let's look at these two teams. This is me picking first. Hollywood has already gotten decent points out of Justin Reed. Good points out of Andy Reid. So his reads came through. Jimmy Garoppolo versus Arizona. Yeah. Should be the offensive game. Sonny Michel starting. Yeah, I guess he is starting.
Yeah. What's his face is out, so Michelle is starting.
I like his receivers.
Terrible.
Ooh, Ertz versus Kittle. It's an interesting back and forth. By 40?
45. The Philly passing game is interesting because with Sanders out, theoretically they'll be relying on the tight ends a lot more this week, I think.
Yeah.
Pass catchers rather than blockers. So
yeah. I think Hollywood wins, but not by 45.
All right. So you're saying Enniscorthy?
And it's the cover, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also going to say Enniscorthy, I think.
Yeah, I think it'll actually be a little bit closer than we like. I mean, I think it might actually get there. There's ways for it to get there.
Yeah.
But it's just a big spread on a. Yeah, I don't know. And the other side, and FOMFA, the big spreads were a bit easier to swallow, I think, because there's teams that are clearly rebuilding.
Teams that are trying.
Yeah. Here, everybody should be trying. You shouldn't see this big of a spread anywhere. Okay, is that all of our picks?
That's all of our picks. It's your turn to pick your shoe-in.
Well, we're getting a couple. Do you get your cat with you?
I did briefly, yeah, and that seems like a fair comment.
Kitty Mania. Cat's becoming a star out here. Yeah.
Jim's used to it because it wanders into screen in all my work meetings as well.
During work meetings. I think that's right, Denver. I got your back. And Boo Phil. Boo Jam as well.
Okay, I'm like, how have I just become a villain to everyone? What did I do?
I think you speak truth. All right, so I picked shoe-in.
Yeah.
My shoe-in is going to be San Diego to cover.
San Diego to cover. What was San Diego's thing again? It was 17? Oh, yeah, that's a good one. All right, I am going to go to my lock of the week is that Enniscorthy does not lose by more than 45 points.
That's a good one, too. All right. It'll be interesting. We'll rank these through. I'll lock them in. I'll put them in a spreadsheet format eventually. I just put them on Notepad right now. I'll be better prepared on our next one.
And if anyone else wants to make picks, actually, and see how they do against Jam and us, we've given you the lines. I guess at this point, you probably weren't paying attention, so I should have said this before.
I'll tell. How about, do you have the lines from Chris?
I can post the lines, and if you want to put in your picks before the game start, by all means, join us in this endeavor.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to see how far off we are and what other people's thoughts are. So if you could put the lines up, let's see what we get.
All right. Well, everyone enjoy week one.
That's right. Get your beers, get your wings, get whatever you need to get. I cannot believe that we're finally here and we get to watch some football today. It's going to be amazing. And yeah, good luck to everybody. And Ben Wyatt, good luck. It's the first games ever in this league, so that's a lot of fun. And let the battle of one conference begin in FOMFA. So it's gonna be interesting to watch. I've never played fantasy football where my team is just absolute complete horrid trash. So that's gonna be exciting to look forward to as well. Do a couple spoilers here and there if I can.
All right,
boys.
Take it easy, everyone.
Enjoy it. Have a good time, boys. Later.
Bye.